My topic is on double head pterygium management and practical tips to reduce recurrence. I'm going to combine it. We all know pterygium is a common problem encountered in our day-to-day practice, and the recurrence of pterygium after its excision is one of the most common and frustrating cause of concern for both the surgeon as well as the patient. And this has led to the development of newer surgical techniques, adjunctive measures, and graft fixation measures. And if you don't follow a proper surgical technique, you may have poor or variable outcome. And as such, we do not have any set protocols as to how to manage different types of pterygium. So, what are the cases you should operate? If when you are dealing with the pterygium, it's not all the pterygium you can operate. It's only those patients with the progressive pterygium, those who are having visual disturbance or cosmetic disturbance, or if the patient is not accepting cosmetically, or a patient having a corneal recurrence, not the conjunctival recurrence, the corneal recurrence with symptoms. These are the cases we should go ahead and operate. So if you see carefully here, there is a grade 3 pterygium, and the astigmatism here is close to 13.5 diopters, and you can see the amount of distortion of the cornea here. And after the pterygium excision, this is after 6 weeks of pterygium excision, the astigmatism has come down to 2.5 diopters. If you see the comparative chart here, this is the preoperative astigmatism 13.5 and the postoperative is around 2.5. There's almost close to 12 diopters of correction, 12 diopters of change, which has happened after pterygium excision. So it has improved visual acuity in this particular patient significantly. So what is the chief goal? What is the main goal of any pterygium surgery? It is prevention of recurrence. Any procedure which we do for pterygium, we should prevent recurrence. There can be recurrence, but it should be minimum. And the procedure should create a limbal barrier so that there is no conjunctivalization of cornea. And there should be minimal or no complications, and it should be cosmetically accepted by the patient as well as the surgeon. And there should be visual improvement in case there is a severe distortion of cornea. It will definitely improve the visual outcome in this patient. So how can you achieve these goals? By removing all the reactive fibrovascular tissue, by eradicating all the mutant pterygium cells, and thus you are going to restore the smooth surface which is easy to reepithelialize, and we are going to restore the normal limbal barrier. That's how you're going to manage these pterygium cases. So I'm going to show a few video clippings. This is a normal, it's a primary pterygium, grade 4 pterygium. I prefer giving subconjunctival infiltrative anesthesia so that I can have full cooperation of the patient during the surgery. Actually, you can avoid complications of retrobulbar or perivulvar anesthesia. And after the pterygium excision, this part is very important, smoothing of the corneal surface where the pterygium is attached. And taking a thin graft is again very important. This can be achieved by injecting either lignocaine or saliva subconjunctivally. Yeah. And taking a very thin graft is very important to take a thin graft without the inclusion of tenons. So if there are hardly any adhesions, you can easily dissect a conjunctival sheet. And once that is done, you can either fix it with glue or you can suture it. Whenever you're suturing the limbal end, you have to anchor it to the sclera for proper fixation. Otherwise, there can be sliding of the graft. And again, amniotic membrane can be tried. If the amniotic membrane is available, you can use amniotic membrane also for primary pterygium. The results are equally good. Is a preserved human amniotic membrane, and you can fix it. It prevents fibrovascular proliferation. It helps in reepithelialization. And there was a study which compared primary pterygium with conjunctival autografting and primary pterygium with amniotic membrane transplantation. As far as the primary pterygium treatment is concerned, both are equally effective. Almost the recurrence rate is almost comparable. But for recurrent pterygium, the recurrence rate with amniotic membrane is very high. So per se, amniotic membrane transplantation for recurrent pterygium is not effective. So when we all know conjunctival autografting is the gold standard in the management of pterygium. However, there are occasions where the superior bulbar conjunctiva is not available, like patients with glaucoma filtering bleb or a glaucoma suspect, or patients who need a large graft, like case of double head pterygium. Such cases, you can take a tissue graft from the conjunctiva pterygium itself. This is a case where I'm taking a graft from the pterygium tissue itself. So you just inject lignocaine subconjunctivally and take a thin sheet of epithelium from the pterygium itself. It's a little difficult to take a graft from the pterygium. It is an epithelial sheet which is slightly thicker as compared to the normal conjunctiva or virgin conjunctiva. And it's brittle. It loses its elasticity when it is on the pterygium. And then you remove all the fibrovascular tissue and place this graft or epithelial sheet or conjunctival tissue from the pterygium itself, either suture it or glue it. So this works very well. You need not discharge the superior bulbar conjunctiva or inferior bulbar conjunctiva. And this particular technique has been published as concomitant use of conjunctival tissue graft from the pterygium itself. And it was published in IJO 3 years back. And the results, as far as the recurrence rate was concerned, it is comparable to conjunctival autograft. And we even compared this conjunctival tissue graft to inferior bulbar conjunctival autograft in patients having filtering blebs and those who are glaucoma suspects. And the results were comparable. And it is seen that in situations where sparing of the superior conjunctiva is mandatory, both the techniques of inferior bulbar conjunctival autografting and conjunctival tissue graft from the pterygium itself, they are excellent alternative options with the comparable outcomes without any additional risk of significant complications. Coming to recurrent double head pterygium, it's a different management problem, slightly a difficult management problem. Here you can do conjunctival autografting. You can use superior and inferior bulbar conjunctival autograft for covering the bare area, or you can do what is called a split conjunctival autografting. It can be a horizontally split conjunctival autografting or vertically split conjunctival autografting. Horizontally, and these split conjunctival autografting also, like with the limbus to limbus orientation and without limbus to limbus orientation, can be tried in these cases. And we can even, as I have shown already, conjunctival tissue grafts from the pterygium itself can be taken, and amniotic membrane transplantation also in primary double head pterygium can be tried. And vertical split conjunctival autografting without limbal orientation. Why we tried this technique is, we have split the conjunctival graft vertically into two components, two parts, and we slide the graft to the bare area. So you're not able to cover the entire bare scleral defect. There is a defect which is left uncovered. So this defect, uncovered defect, can act as a bare sclera, and it can cause conjunctivalization of cornea. There is no barrier here. So there will be conjunctival fibrosis which can encroach upon the cornea. So in such cases, what we can do is we can split the graft and slide the graft vertically down without changing the orientation of the graft, and place it on the bare scleral bed and cover the entire bare scleral defect. So this works very well, and this is the video demonstration of the same procedure. I just split the conjunctival graft into two parts vertically, and one graft I place on the nasal side without changing the orientation. There is no limbus to limbus orientation. This is the limbal end of the graft, and the other part. But of course, the epithelial side should always be facing upwards. This works very well, and we even published the results of this technique, double head pterygium excision with modified vertically split conjunctival autografting, 6 years long follow-up, and the results were again, as far as the conjunctival recurrence of the pterygium was concerned, it was excellent. We had less than 4% recurrence in a series which contained almost 100 cases. We even published a large series in Oman Journal of Ophthalmology with this unconventional way of doing vertically split conjunctival autografting, and the recurrence rate was around 2.1%. And then we even compared this vertically split conjunctival autograft with and without limbal orientation. Again, the results were comparable here. This study actually provided data that recurrence rates are not different among patients who undergo split conjunctival autograft with and without limbal orientation. So the strict adherence to maintaining limbus to limbus orientation while managing double-headed pterygium may not be necessary in all cases, especially in those with the large defects following excision. Coming to the other mode of management is the horizontal split conjunctival autografting. You split the graft, you take a large graft superiorly, split it into two parts horizontally, and place it on the base little bit. This also works very well. And again, so on the temporal side, I have not followed any orientation. We again compared this, and this was published in last December, IJO, comparison of horizontal versus vertical split conjunctival autografting in the management of double head pterygium. Again, both the techniques provide good results with comparable efficacy in terms of rate of recurrence and complication profiles. So coming to recurrent pterygium, Shreyas has covered this. What is recurrent pterygium? Is nothing but regrowth of fibrovascular pterygium-like tissue growing onto the limb, beyond limbus and onto the cornea. And this fibrovascular recurrence attaining the same degree of corneal encroachment as the original lesion, or regrowth exceeding 1 millimeter onto the cornea. So it is called recurrent pterygium, and this is a corneal recurrence. There's a proper recurrent pterygium, and there is a recurrence of conjunctival tissue here, but the limbal area is covered. There is a barrier effect here. There is no conjunctivalization of the cornea. This is called conjunctival recurrence, and it doesn't require any treatment. Management, again, surgical aspect, Dr. Shreyas has covered. So these are all the management modalities which we can use for managing pterygium, recurrent pterygium. Mitomycin C 0.02 to 0.04% can be tried. And there are various regimens, there are various protocols which is followed by different authors. And 0.02 to 0.04% is apt for the management of pterygium. It can be used intraoperatively or it can be used postoperatively. And there is a study which compared 0.02% with 0.04% of mitomycin C. And as far as the recurrence rate was concerned, both are equally effective. So we can always use lesser concentration, that is 0.02%, if at all, if you have to use. And it was compared, the mitomycin C for recurrent pterygium was compared with the limbal conjunctival autotransplantation, and the recurrent rate was almost comparable, and both are equally effective. Intraoperative versus postoperative, the recurrence rate, there is no significant difference. Various studies have proved this. However, one should be careful in handling mitomycin C. If you are using mitomycin C, you should be in a position to handle these dreaded complications. This is a sight-threatening complication. We all know pterygium is not a sight-threatening condition, but a sight-threatening complication like this is not acceptable in the management of pterygium. My preferred technique for recurrent pterygium is an extended resection of the pterygium. It's not as extensive as described by Hurst, Professor Hurst, in his perfect technique. It is an extended resection, and I use a large graft where I use a thin block of tissue from the peripheral cornea that includes limbal stem cells. So this is a procedure which combines extended resection with the limbal conjunctival autograft. This works very well for recurrent pterygium patients. So we have different treatment options for different types of pterygium. Single head and double head primary pterygium, you have these many options, and for recurrent pterygium, you have all these options: conjunctival autografting, limbal conjunctival autografting with adjunctives like mitomycin C or amniotic membrane transplantation. So what are the causes of recurrence after conjunctival autotransplantation? If you see here, there's the insufficient graft size. There's a small graft here, there is a bare area left. So in this area, definitely there can be conjunctivalization. There will be proliferation, fibrovascular proliferation of the conjunctiva here. And thick graft, if you are including tenons in the graft, this is the graft, conjunctival graft with the thick tenons. And over a period of time, this sloughs out. And it can cause loss of graft because of the retraction or contraction, and it can cause recurrence. And retraction of the graft, if you are taking a very small graft, if it is not adhered properly, you can have a retraction like this. Luckily, the limbal end of the graft is well approached here, so the chances of recurrence is less, provided unless the patient has recurrent inflammation. If the patient has recurrent inflammation, you may end up having a recurrence. This is again a case of graft sloughing out of the graft slough. This is because of the inversion of the graft. If you are placing the graft upside down, you end up having a sloughed out graft. So this has to be removed, otherwise it will cause a lot of inflammatory response, and it can cause conjunctivalization of the cornea. Again, inadequate peripheral excision, as was mentioned in the previous talk. So you can see a small knuckle of tissue which is extending onto the cornea, and the other area, it is all covered with the conjunctival graft. So there is a nice barrier effect, but here the peripheral conjunctival tissue which is extending onto the cornea, that suggests there is an inadequate excision of the pterygium has happened in the periphery. And persistent inflammation again is one of the cause for recurrence. So what are the essential factors to successful conjunctival autografting? These are all the factors, so we have to keep it in mind. So we have to remove this fibrovascular tissue adequately, and you should obtain a slightly larger graft and obtain a tenons-free graft. As a thin graft has to be taken. And adequate stabilization of the graft is very important. There's no point in just taking the graft. If it is not adhered properly, you may lose the graft and it can lead to recurrence of the pterygium. And stabilization of the graft has been shown. This is actually autologous.
With all due respect, Dr. Sresha, actually it's time up. Could you just please sum it up in the next 30 seconds?
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have 2 more minutes. And yeah, this is actually a conjunctival graft which is placed on the autologous blood. The blood is already clotted, so it may not stay. It may not stay. So you need fresh ooze, like for the graft to fix. So in such cases, you may not have a stable graft. You can just scratch the bare sclera here, and there can be fresh ooze like this, which will cause clotting of the blood once you place the graft on the vascular bed. And see to it that the graft is stable, and put an overnight patch. So 6 hours of patching is sufficient. And this is the last slide. And I'm showing just a conjunctival autografting. And fixing, if you don't have a glue, you just place the graft on the vascular bed. There can be some amount of ooze, which is autologous blood, autologous serum. And then you cauterize the edge of the graft using your cautery. So I'm just cauterizing the edge. This actually fixes the graft. I've been doing it for a few of my cases, and the results are good. Again, the results are comparable to autologous blood or even glue. So to conclude, you have to choose the right surgical procedure and you have to choose the right method of graft fixation to obtain optimal outcome in these cases. Finally, it is a surgeon's choice or surgeon's expertise that should guide this technique of surgical procedure for pterygium or a graft fixation procedure. Thank you very much.